The views expressed on this show do not represent those of NTV or its staff.
Welcome to NTV People's Parliament season finale, seated here at the Royal Suites in Bugolobi. Agnes Nandutu, the Speaker of the People's Parliament, presides. Madam Speaker, allow me first of all to give thanks to the U.S. Mission for sponsoring season 1 of the People's Parliament. We have had issues discussed, including, but not limited to, female genital mutilation, girl child education, and gender-based violence. And as we close this season, Madam Speaker, I propose that the People's Parliament discuss the local and global challenges of women in leadership.
Those in favor, aye. To the contrary, no? Aye. Ayes have it. You are welcome. This is NTV People's Parliament, the only platform that gives all Ugandans an opportunity to air out issues that affect their everyday life. And today we are discussing yet very important topic. Honorable members, in Uganda and indeed many African countries, the role of women in leadership has become more pronounced over the years. In the 9th Parliament, there are 134 women MPs of the 383 seats, representing 34%. Out of this, at least 112 are district women MPs and a few are constituency lawmakers. The number of women in key decision-making spaces has increased significantly. And Honorable Member who leads the women parliamentarians will give us some information. Despite these advances, many women remain on the fringes of society. Feminized poverty, sexual and gender violence, and lack of respect for the rule of law and women's rights are escalating. That's why today we are discussing this topic. What then are the local and global challenges to women in leadership? But before we roll the ball, I would like to invite the American ambassador to Uganda to give us the overview of the challenges of women, since they have been the sponsors of this segment. Please, Your Excellency, you have the floor. You are welcome to NTV People's Parliament.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And honorable members of the House, it is a great pleasure to be with you today. The U.S. Mission in Uganda is delighted to join in this partnership with NTV to discuss, debate, and discover issues involving one of our world's most valuable and, unfortunately, most underappreciated resources, women. Even though they make up half of the world's population, it is an undeniable fact that women have been largely excluded from politics, economics, decision-making, and full participation in societies around the world for centuries. This has to change, and the time for it to change is now. And as women struggle to advance their quest for equality, do not make the mistake of thinking this quest is just for women alone. Women's concerns are men's concerns too. At least they should be. We must understand that today's world compels us to address an incredible array of challenges: climate change, violent extremism, political instability, poverty, disease, the list goes on and on. These aren't women's issues. These aren't men's issues. These are humanity's issues. And we must have the energy, the intellect, the compassion, and the wisdom of women, the women in our societies, as we seek solutions to the challenges that confront us. Women deserve to have the same education, the same opportunity, and the same respect in society as men. We need and we want women as equal partners who can share fully and effectively in taking on the challenges and the responsibilities of leadership and decision-making. To achieve that, we need to look at gender in a new way. We must discard the old idea that men and women are people whose nature puts them in opposition. While we are all different, men are not all one way and women are not all another way. As Emma Watson said in her remarks on gender equality at the UN in September, both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum, not as two opposing sets of ideals. And here at the People's Parliament, I know you have looked at these issues and you have held invigorating debates on issues affecting women. It is my hope that the dialogue we have begun will not just end with these robust discussions, but that you as active citizens will translate words into meaningful actions on these critical issues that we face. In the U.S., we continue our efforts to promote gender equality, and although more must be done, the fact is that 3 of my last 5 bosses as Secretary of State have been women. There are more women than ever before in our Congress and in our corporate boardrooms. Women are university presidents, they're leaders in civil society, jurists, athletes, adventurers, scientists, and engineers. And we are richer for having women's voices in every conversation on every issue. We have learned in the United States that creating equal opportunities for women is not just an issue of fairness. It is also one of the most powerful tools we have in our effort to build a stronger society, and I believe the same is true here in Uganda. With empowered women partners, we can achieve our shared vision of a peaceful, prosperous, stable, healthy, and democratic Uganda. Women have the skills, they have the will, the heart, and the courage to contribute and to lead if only we will open the door to them to do so. And if we fail to open the door, I hope that the women of the next generation will kick the door in. You, Madam Speaker, you honorable members of the People's Parliament, and you concerned citizen viewers all know that engaging women in achieving our shared vision is the only way that we can ultimately be successful. Help us to make it so. On behalf of the U.S. mission in Uganda, I thank you again for this partnership and for this opportunity to share in the discussion today. I look forward to a lively debate. Madam Speaker, thank you. Members, the honorable members, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. Ugandans are very grateful to the American Embassy for the partnership, and indeed, since the People's Parliament started, the Ugandan women have spoken. She is the chairperson of Women Parliamentary Group. Please, Honorable Member, can you take this podium and give us the overview of the challenges that you have faced, probably you as a person and the people you are leading down there. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, honorable members of Parliament. In line with today's topic, Madam Speaker, allow me to give you some global statistics. Madam Speaker, honorable members, as we stand in 2015, we have parliamentary representation of women throughout the world, and over those parliaments with over 50% of women are 3. Rwanda, which is just our neighbor, is the number 1 with the 63.8% women in their parliament. Bolivia has 53.1% women in their parliament. Andorra has 50% of women in their parliament. Parliaments with over 40% women representation are 11 throughout the world. Parliaments with 30% representation of women are 41% throughout the country, throughout the world. And of the top 10 in the world, I am proud, Madam Speaker, to say that 3 out of the top 10 are from sub-Saharan Africa. That is Rwanda, Seychelles with 43.8%, Senegal with 43.3%. Uganda has been progressing from 18% in 2001 to 30% in 2006 to 32% in 2012. Now we stand at 35% in parliament.
We are on
We are
track.
progressing. We are on track.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, there are also a series of challenges. One of the biggest challenges women face is the way politics is structured, the patriarchal way that politics is structured. Around the world, politics is structured around interest, around social and cultural and religious basis. If you go to the Arab world, politics is structured around religion and clan representation. So when I went, for example, to Qatar has no women in parliament. When I went to Saudi Arabia, you find that women's representation are designated through the clans. Some of the countries, representation of women in politics are designated through religion. So all these are occupied and male-dominated, and they will only designate mostly to represent the clans will be the male. That is why in most of the Arab countries, women's representation is very low. If you look at the social-cultural structure in our society, politics, the timing of politics is actually informal. Even us in the Ugandan parliament, most of the politics is, the hardcore politics is done in bars, in social places, informally. When people come to vote, it is not actually the formal issue. So, and those are the time women are in the kitchen, they are with their children, they will not go to bars, and it is after 6 when they will go to clubs and decide what will be in the order paper the following day. And they will decide what is going to be the major issue. So the way politics is structured should be turned around to fit the interest and the time and the responsibility of women. And that is what we are working for. The tool that is increasing women's participation around the world is the quota system. In Uganda, we call it affirmative action. In most of the countries that have progressed, it is through the quota system where political parties will put a minimum representation of women in their political parties to be, for example, 30%. That is how Rwanda achieved 63.8% women's representation, because in their party list, they dictated through the laws, through the national constitution, through the Political Parties and Organizations Act, that each of the political parties must ensure that 30% of women come through political parties to be represented in parliament. So when you add all the 3 big political parties in Rwanda who were compelled constitutionally to ensure a minimum of 30% women in their political parties are in parliament, they came up with 63.8%. That's how they have progressed. Okay. And around the world, 130 countries that are on the top of the global list of women participating in politics with high numbers, all of them are using quota system and affirmative action.
Thank you.
We
Thank
must
you, Honourable
look at
Member.
that. Thank you very much.
Time constraint, shall give you another opportunity to come back and give more information. That's a good one, Honourable Member. And it may have somebody from the American side to give us how does the United States differ from the challenges that are being faced by African women leaders, and maybe definitely Uganda in particular.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, thank you for this opportunity to address this august forum. The major difference that I can see, and I am not very learned in the ways of the Ugandan Parliament, thank you, honorable member, for giving me that overview. The major difference that I can see is that we don't have a quota system. In fact, we've never had a quota system. But I think there's a recognition on the part of both of our major political parties that they must include women. And it would look very bad if they had a slate of all men. No matter the men's capabilities, people would ask, is there no woman in your constituency in the entire United States of America who is qualified? You could find no qualified woman to hold this post. So I think there's an informal recognition about the importance of including women on your slate. And women are given the opportunity to campaign, we say run for office. You stand for office, we run. Because you gotta run or you're not gonna keep up. Our politicians, whether they be male or female, are very interested in capturing the female vote. the female demographic. And they even break that vote down by age. Are you a mother? We call soccer moms, that are women of maybe 40 years old who have children of a certain age. Are you a young woman? Are you an older woman? All of these women share some concerns, but they'll have different concerns. So our politicians or their party structures who are running for office will analyze the needs and the concerns and the interests of that particular demographic and see what they can do to appeal to it, because they realize the importance of capturing that vote, because women vote. Women care about their communities. Women care about the future of their community, whether they have children or not. And so they want to capture that demographic. So they're not forced to do it to include women by law, but they're forced by circumstance. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. That is very, very good information, Honorable Member. Thank you so much. Just in 2 minutes, please.
You know, grassroots women are illiterate. Most of them are illiterate. And it is due to our cultural norms and beliefs, even religious, that we cannot be elected in decision-making spaces. For example, I'm a Muslim. I'm not supposed to sit with men when we are in a mosque. Whether I have an issue to air out, I'm not allowed to. If I am to give it, I have to give it through a man. Now you see how we are being left down. In the old ages, girls were not getting skills like men. They would say you should remain at home working, you washing utensils, looking up to our brothers while they go to school. So it led us not to go into leadership. But whenever we go to leadership, like I'm in a CBO in my community, we wanted to be involved in some spaces like at the division level when they are planning for the division. We wanted to join this, but they cannot allow because they are saying, you guys, you don't know how to speak English very well. What can you say in the meeting? So you find that we have got a lot of challenges down there. And believe me, grassroots people are change makers in our communities and whatever they do. But because of so many challenges, we are not given space. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for that opportunity. I think you have heard the local and global challenges to women in leadership. Thank you very much. Let's go for a short break, and when we come back, we shall continue to focus on the challenges. Welcome back. You are still watching NTV People's Parliament, discussing a very important issue of local and global challenges that women face in leadership. Yes, Honorable Member from the media.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker of People's Parliament. My name is Margaret Sentam. I work as an Executive Director for Uganda Media Women's Association. So when you get into this particular leadership position, you need to come up with a lot of time to acquire the skills that you are required to lead others. Then the other challenge that we are facing as women leaders in civil society organizations is the fact that, you know, you will never have enough time. All the time you are on job. It is not an 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock adventure. You can even stay in an office because you have got so much work to do. You'll never have enough staff because you keep on orienting and mentoring people and exposing them, but tomorrow they'll get another job. So all that work gets back to you. Then the other challenge that we face as women leaders is balancing work and family. Many of us, you could be married, but also the husband will expect you to be at home. So you have to come up with some kind of balance. So we want to call upon society to appreciate that women leaders also have to be in that positions out there, so that they can be appreciated.
They have always accused us of abandoning our roles in the house caring. But men, style up. We also need to get there. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Christine. I'm the Woman MP for Arua District, and I chair the Women's Democracy Network in Uganda.
You are welcome to this parliament this time
Thank
round.
you very much. Madam Speaker, to be a leader, and particularly a woman, means to be born in advance, but to die before your birth. What does that mean? It simply means that the societal expectations of a woman prescribe that a woman should live 28 hours a day, yet 24 hours for humanity. What does that remind us of? Look, for example, in the political sphere, today in our countries and globally, the extent to which money is applied to procure leadership, the extent to which money manipulates our electorate, the extent to which money governs our countries. This alone tells you that in a resource-constrained segment of society called women, it is almost impossible, if you're not courageous, to get into a leadership position. Why do I say that? They will ask you, you are still young. Why are you going into this? Are you married? They do not look at your intellectual capacity. They do not look at your
Actually, I
ability.
heard the story of the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. She had a story that whenever she could go for campaigns, they could ask, who is your husband?
Yes, that tells you the extent to which cultural depictions still affect women. For example, when I was running for office in 2006, the first question I was asked is, what is the name of your husband? And I said, I am a woman who will give birth to men. So it should rather be that what is the name of your mother? And for that reason, they were able to give me their vote and their mandate. The Ugandan woman, who is 3/4 uneducated, and yet the majority voter, what quality of decisions will such a woman make, for example? That leaves room for manipulation. Because the most important thing to any human being is whether you are in position to make life's choices and decisions accurately and consciously. And if we cannot have that, and that's a problem. I was in the United States, I was in Arizona, I met this extraordinary Senator, Christine Sinema. And the first thing she told me was, Christine, when I first started running for this office, I was told that my hair was too long. And she had to comply and cut her hair in order to suit the expectations of society. That's the extent to which we are looked at.
Okay, Honorable Member. Despite all those challenges, we are getting there. We are getting there. Yes.
I'm Munyangoga Bonaventure, the Secretary General of National Youth Patriotism and Pan-Africanism Forum, a student of Makerere University School of Law. The major problem that women face is economic. We know that your economic substructure determines your political superstructure. So, to me, limited access to means of production and poor direction of productive forces are the major problem. Labor is the most prerequisite to development. A lady is married, and by 45, after working so hard to build the estate of the man, there is a divorce. And 80% of our women in Uganda are not legally married. So they say your breasts are now like socks, so you go and I get a fresh one. So after working for all that long, you lose everything. The Greek Empire initiated a form of government where people were directly involved in decision making. But this empire, which initiated the democracy, the Greek democracy did not involve slaves and women. Where Greeks? The Greek Empire is normal because it terminated slaves and women, you see. Yet they were the majority of the population. So, to me, we must adopt laws that are relevant to our people and that protect women. Women are good people. They pay you in your own currency. If you play tricks with them, they will play tricks with them. If you love them, they will love you. If you hate them, they will hate you. So, to me, I think we need laws. We have had Rwanda. It is dictatorship in the name of the people. We need laws coming up. If it's not laws, even the little women that are in parliament because of the 1995 constitution. So to me, there is need for a constitutional amendment.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Yes.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. My name is Honorable Patience Namanya.
Have you got any challenges while searching for a job?
Oh yes,
Please
definitely
tell them
I have.
to the House.
Sometimes I think that God is a woman. Because he gave all the strength and ability to survive in this world to a woman.
Exactly. We push the children, we go dig, we graze the goats and the cows. We do all this care for the man, for the children. So we are strong.
Even
go
the,
ahead.
even the chicken. In politics, if you want things said, ask a man. If you want them done, ask a woman. Women exhibit the true meaning of patriotism, where you plant trees whose shade you never expect to sit. Women are a strength of a nation, a backbone. Any country standing without women, down it will tumble. If your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more and become more, then you are an excellent leader. Such is a woman.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for that very important information. We are not only discussing the local challenges, but we are also discussing the global challenges. I have a Honorable Member holding the floor. Please, you have the floor, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much. I want to agree with the other Honorable Member that I do believe that God is a woman. It's an important point for this discussion, I think, and actually leads to my point, which is, I think, a major challenge that women are facing across the board in leadership is a lack of mentors. And I'd like to start with a story. I was in Liberia, and I was visiting a school, and I asked a question that I think we often ask of school children, asking them what they want to be when they grow up. And a little boy raised his hand and he said, "Oh, I need to be the vice president." And I said, "Oh, that's great. Why not president?" And he says, "Oh, it's a job for a lady." And I thought that was so interesting that really we can very easily gender jobs, right? We can very easily say this is work for women and this is work for men. And if we grow up in a society where little boys and little girls only see one gender in a specific role, it's really hard for them to imagine themselves the leaders that they're meant to be. And so I think that we need two types of leaders that are lacking. One is that we just need more women in roles of leadership. We need those women to be strong. We need those women to be like the women that we've heard from today and be willing to engage with younger women, to mentor them, to bring them up. And I think the second type of mentor that we need men who are really partners. And we need to see role models of men standing by their wives and saying, yes, she's a leader, and I support her at home so that she can do the work that she's meant to do.
My name is Lena Zedriga Waro, Honorable. I represent the grassroots women as the Vice Chairperson of Forum for Women Democracy and an active member of FIDA Uganda. I'm a retired magistrate by choice because of the challenges women face in the boardrooms. And yes. We did a study to establish the number of women in the boardrooms in key positions, and this is, Madam Speaker and the Honorable's House, what of all the 6 top positions in Uganda, none is a woman.
Which are those?
President, vice, deputies, and all those others. None is a woman. Report is here, and it is also published in the reality check. Those are our realities. 2.
Women, wake up.
When we look at the departments where women are represented higher than men, we have the nurses, we have senior assistant and private secretaries, clerical officers, we are above 70%. But when it comes to the overall position in public service offices, we have in the cabinet 21%. That is where we are, 21. From 70s in clerical, and what we are now shooting downwards. And government commissions and agencies, women 32%, men 68. Women in political positions at the district level, 9% women. What do I say as I conclude? We face a lot of challenges. There's patronage. The pressure on us in terms of our decisions as magistrate, then, you are married, it is phenomenal. You are judged because you are a woman. You are not judged because you are an officer. Personally, we have patronage. We have sexization of promotions and lucrative postings. We have the agenda. We have the case studies. And as women, this is because power is constructed around the man. For us, we're supposed to do the reproductive roles. So
And
you
look after men.
You cross it, and you are like the honorable members here. You're a witch, you're a bitch. You are not the woman to associate with in the communities. So we need to deconstruct this patriarchy, the patriarchal identity of power belonging to men. These communities need women. Women have proved that when they're in leadership positions, they take decisions for the community, for the benefit of
And
the
we have
community. Because we
examples.
take our decisions with our hearts.
We have examples of women who have performed excellently.
Very
the former
many.
VP,
Very,
Special
very
Andrea
many.
Kazibu.
Very, very many. So,
And now the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, she's performing, she's on top of everything.
So I conclude by saying, when we are moving constructively as women in numbers, in fact, that number, Honorable, you stated, is now worrying to the communities. They are going to say, how do we deconstruct them? Now, you know, those are elitist women, the other ones are grassroots women, the other one, so that we are divided. Please, let's move together.
Yes.
Our identity is where women.
Thank you.
Issues that affect women, whether you're in boardroom, whether you are in the grassroots, you are looked at as a woman. We need to reconstruct our identity.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Let's go for a short break. And when we come back, we are going to discuss the way forward. What can we do to get there? Welcome back. You are still watching NTV People's Parliament, the only platform that gives you an opportunity to air out issues that affect you. So there is no need to go on the streets and demonstrate. Just come to People's Parliament and you'll have a platform to speak to the powers that be. What is happening, Honorable Member?
Men, we still face a challenge when we look at women in politics or leadership as a love affair.
Unfortunately.
When a woman enters Parliament, you want to see whether her hair looks nice, whether her dress is nice, whether she has a short skirt, and when she turns around, there are comments going on. So, no, they go on. Now that's a challenge, that's still a challenge. When you see women in this country, like the Honorable Winnie Byanyima, when she would stand in Barra, you would know that any man who would stand is wasting his time against her. I saw the Right Honorable Speaker, Rebecca Kadaga, when on several occasions, they wanted her, for instance, one, to approve ministers who were really unqualified. And she stood her ground and said, no, this is not going to happen. And indeed, several ministers were never approved. That was a woman.
And you know what they spoke against her?
Yes.
You people know, the people of Parliament, what you were saying.
Now, it's going to take lots of effort for us to delink from the past. There are several challenges. I mean, we know historically that in several countries across the world, women never voted, women never participated in politics. So it's cultural, it's religious, but it is also a fear. Honestly, let's address this. That women, we certainly fear your numbers. Yeah, we know you have the numbers.
So that's why you are pushing us backwards?
No, that's not our intention. But we also at the back of our mind, like, yeah, these women actually have the number. But they're also very brilliant. And they can actually be too passionate. So and so women must appreciate that it's competition. Yes, it's competition. We're not going to let this thing just happen, obviously.
All right.
I mean, I appreciate MTV. We know the top manager MTV is a woman.
And
we
the Speaker of People's Parliament is a woman.
Also a woman. So even the managers around, they're all women. We see that. But we know it doesn't just happen. These men can be challenged. Yes. Did I clarification? Yes.
Yes, Honourable Member. What kind of clarification do you want, Honourable Member?
I wanted my honorable colleague to help me appreciate whether if we bring a piece of legislation in parliament to say that in Uganda, all political representation from our political parties up to parliament should be 50-50, whether you would support this kind of legislation.
Yes, honorable member. You're the man there in parliament. Could you support that legislation?
I know out there men are going to say that one, but yes, I would support that legislation.
You as a person?
Yes, as a person, yes, I would, because I know very well how effective women can be. We know the women leaders across the world, in our own country who have taken positions, they have been sincerely very effective.
Okay.
So why not support them?
Thank you, honorable. Thank you, honorable member. Thank you. Yes, you have the podium, honorable member.
We were told that MPs, women MPs are 135 numbers. It means you have already a numerical number to begin with. So women, the challenge comes to you, first of all, the first challenge comes to you. Why don't you unite your biggest constituents to be behind you? Then another one, the media. The media can try to pull down powerful women MPs or women leaders. They keep on following them in a negative perspective. When they do a good thing, they can't do anything. But when they do a wrong, all of us have our low points here and there. Whenever there's a low point that a woman MP or a woman leader has done, they have to follow that to the beat. Then another one, some MPs also, some leaders, women leaders, they try to make sure that when they go into leadership, their biggest work is to make sure that they outcompete men. Their biggest work is to make sure they struggle to outcompete. You end up developing answers for nothing because you are struggling to outcompete what? Do your humble things. Do your humble things.
Thank you.
Even if humble
thank you, honorable member. Because of time constraints, I will call you back. Yes, you have the podium, honorable member.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. My name is Bryn Interken. I represent a company called Lion's Thread. We make dashing bow ties for men. I also work for an NGO that works on education. But ladies, women, this is a global audience that we're in, is it not? There might be Ugandans, there might be Americans in this room, people from Europe and what, but I think we're a global community, right? Of women, that we should unite, that we need to lean in as a force, right? If we are 50% and 35% of parliament is represented by women, then that means there is 15% missing. Yes. Yeah, do we agree with that? Okay. Yes, top leadership in Uganda is not being represented by women. It's not being represented by women in even my country. I think that sometimes we think that America has progressed, but unfortunately there are many, many women that are not running for political office, even in the United States, because they feel that there is a role constructed in which they cannot break.
What can we do? How can we move forward? What are the solutions?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My name is Zerida Kakai, the Secretary General of FDC Youth League.
Hey, big position.
Yes. Madam Speaker, I want to first of all emphasize the strength of a woman that we have. When we were being created by God, we are the best definition of perfection because we were the last creation item in this world. We were created in a bone. How can clay take over a bone? So I want to say that we as women have power, but we have not exploited our power.
So what can we do?
I also call upon the government to put up a fund for women. For example, to start up small entrepreneurship projects.
Thank you, honorable member. Please, you have the podium.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am Honorable Meg Jakwe, and today I represent a couple of different organizations, but I represent today the American Chamber of Commerce here in Uganda. I am the Vice President of the American Chamber of Commerce here. I really encourage those that are watching, those that are here, that find out what your true path is, what you were put here for. Figure that out and make it very present to those around you that this is the value that you bring. This is what I'm good at.
My name is Abe Lillian. I come from Kidgum District. I am the first female Uganda National Students Association.
Kongs.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, when I was aspiring for that position, I made a research and realized that for the past 40 years, UNSA has been in existence, we have never had a female president. And that was what inspired me to come for that position. So every successful man was still in custody of a female for 9 months. So why do you become stubborn when you come out and start saying that a woman has all this problem? So, Madam Speaker, you need to re-echo that to the men in this country. Speaker, let me talk about blackmail. That is my last point, Speaker. The female leaders who are in power today suffer blackmail from men. You find a situation where a female is married to someone who calls himself very important, but when you rise up to disagree with him on principle, we'll tell you, I am going to go to NTV. I'm going to take you and you become the next desire. And this is making women to fail to speak up their minds. Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please, men, stop blackmailing us. You have the floor, honorable member.
If 90% of the 70% of the population that is engaged in agriculture are women, how much do we put in that sector? For example, we're talking about 3.6% of our budget going to agriculture sector. And yet women are the dominant producers in that segment. And therefore, the question is, as women MPs, as leaders in this country, we must focus to, in explicit terms, remind ourselves that if our national budgets can't work for women, we will be wasting time. Okay. And therefore, together with my chair, we must find a way of configuring our national budgets to ensure that they work for women. Once we do that, we will get the women from the dust to the boardroom, from being a deputy speaker or a speaker to the presidency.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for that one. What's the way forward, Honorable?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much, fellow honorable members of this House. I just want to summarize what we can do going forward in the words of Saul Alinsky in his book, Rules for Radicals. He says, power is not given. It is grabbed. Because what is given is a wrong.
So we should grab power now.
Turned inside out. Women, we have for long been on the menu. Let us get out of the menu. We get at all the tables, be it at the fireplace. Let's get at the table and discuss and craft the menu. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Lady from there, please.
I think we must have a nationwide campaign to ensure that society appreciates that women can be leaders, but also very importantly to have some kind of training for women who want to come up to be leaders, and also for civil society organizations to address intergenerational gaps, so that there has to be that mentorship of young people to come and, and relieve women leaders who are actually burnt out. But also very importantly for the media to have a gender strategy to impact on how media portrays women leaders in this country.
Okay.
I'm happy to report that the gender strategy on the media has already been drafted. Actually, WOMA actually did draft it in conjunction with the Ministry of Gender. It needs to be implemented.
Okay, Honorable.
Yeah,
thank you for that. Yes.
Thank
in
you.
1.5 minutes, Honorable, what's the way forward?
Yes.
What can we do?
Madam Speaker, for many years we have been talking to ourselves, the women. It is the right time that we now refocus to involve men, to recruit men, and to target men, to deconstruct the social values, the cultural values, the religious values, and to engage in the implementation of the laws, because it is the men who are custodian of all the cultural and all the other policies that undermines women. So my last solution is, let us engage male, let us reach out to them to participate and be part of this crusade.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Your Excellency, you have heard from the women of America and the women of Uganda. Please, can you wind up with a piece of advice in just 1.5 minutes? Thank you.
Madam Speaker, that's cruel and unusual punishment for a diplomat. 1.5 minutes. Let me try. Okay. Honorable members, first of all, let me just say how proud I am that the United States Embassy has been a sponsor for this debate. This sort of discussion, the sharing of views, the airing of issues, hearing people's voices is critical to building the future and the society that we all want to see in Uganda. So I'm delighted that we were able to be part of this. In America, 100 years ago, women did not have the vote. That has changed. In America, 60 years ago, women weren't expected to work outside the home. It was bad. You can't be a good mother. You can't be a good housewife. You can't be a good partner if you're working. That has changed. In America, 35 years ago, a woman could not be a diplomat and be married. Don't ask me why, but that too has changed. Today in our nation, we still have room to go, as Bryn pointed out, Honorable Bryn. Absolutely, I would agree. We have a glass ceiling. There's issues of equal pay for equal work. We still have to do better, but we have made progress. The point being, culture does change. Culture is not static, and we can work together to change this. And you are right, you need men. We have to mentor, as has been suggested. Okay. But I would also ask us, please, let us address the girls in this society, that next generation. Let us protect them from the violence that is often part of their life, the sexual violence that is often part of their lives. Together, we can change this. We can make women leaders the successful, dynamic partners that we need them to be, and I wish that for the future of Uganda. Madam Speaker, it has been an honor to be with you today. I'm so impressed with the quality of the debate. Honorable members, you inspire me. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you. The local and global challenges that women face in leadership. You have heard from American experience, and you also have heard from the women of Uganda, and you have heard what they need: political will, economic empowerment, the leaders that be. What is difficult there? Because of time constraints, we cannot continue. I am still Agnes Nandutu, the Speaker of People's Parliament, and I adjourn this House until next time.
The views expressed on this show do not represent those of NTV or its staff.